just call up my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running.
Hello and welcome to the Joseph-Naomi Reunion Podcast. My name is Greg Rice, and each time I interview another camp alum or a number of alums, we reminisce about the old days, talk about funny or moving stories from the past, and even catch up about what people are doing now. So sit back and relax and enjoy the Camp Joseph-Naomi Reunion Podcast.
I'm with the inimitable Sam Hillson, visiting here in Atlanta, Georgia. Sam, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Greg. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be visiting you in the famous rice gardens here in Atlanta.
All right, Sam. We've been reminiscing for probably an hour and a half before I said this is ridiculous. We got to record some of these stories, so we might revisit because we just told some classic tales, but we'll just keep going, and whatever we record will be good. And Harriet is also visiting, but she'll appear later on.
Yes, the truth of the matter is it's only 9 o'clock. It's a little bit early for her to expect to be getting up, so she's soundly sleeping, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right.
So what do you want me to tell?
Well, Sam, there's so many stories to tell.
Yeah.
Let's start with. I don't need to go chronologically. I am interested in your early years at camp, etc. But we were talking about color wars, and so why don't we stay on that subject? And what are some of your memories of any color wars? You have a classic story with Book.
I do. I do have a classic story with Book. To be honest, I love being a general. I love being a chief judge. I love color war. I loved writing the alma maters. But I came back in '79 after I'd been gone for 6 years. And Book was one of the generals. And he came to me with an idea as we were up every night till 12 o'clock running Mimeo machine copies. He came to me one night and he says, Sam, I have a really good idea. And I says, well, knowing some of his ideas, So I said, what's your idea? I want you to make believe there's not going to be a color war. I said, what are you talking about? And he says, I want you to make an announcement to the camp saying you hate competition and therefore you are eliminating color war. And I said, they're gonna hate me, Book. He says, it's gonna be the greatest when it comes and we have it. And for some reason, I just said, okay. So the next day I got up in the dining hall and I made an announcement. Because I dislike competition so much and we're trying to change the tenor of the camp, there will be no color war this year. Now, of course, most of the older counselors are people who had been around. You didn't believe me. But the younger people or people who didn't know me, that most of them believed me. And they came around every day begging me to have color war. And I would be so depressed because people were all so upset with me.
You had to keep this up.
At least 2 weeks. It seemed like 25 years. Because, camp is so intense. It seems like forever.
Yeah.
And finally, the night before, one of the kids came and and I said to Book, I can't do it, Sam, it's only one. I said, Book, I can't, one more night. So finally, the night comes and I said, thank God it's the break. The break comes and I'm standing there saying, oh, thank God we finally have it. So Amy Chipman comes up to me and she was
small.
in bunk 15. She was me, I don't know how old, 9 years old. and says to, thank you so much for changing your mind. And of course, I didn't have the heart to tell her, Amy, I never changed my mind. It was all a big hoax.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
You can blame Book for anyone
I
who was...
blame Buccarati for the entire summer.
Yeah.
Although, to be honest with you, he is one of the, we all know he's one of the most incredible counselors and human beings that I ever had the honor of working with. He's just great. I love Book.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, he was one aggravating person to try to be the so-called boss of. I can tell you that right now.
That was I think 1979.
It was.
That was the year of the 4 generals.
4 generals.
They had 4. So you did it. We did break from tradition a little bit that year, where there were 4 generals. I believe it was June Beeler, Book, Todd Adelman, and was it Nancy Silverman? I think
might have been. But to tell you the truth, I don't remember. This is Greg's memories now.
Yeah. Well, this is why I remember. First of all, when any tradition at camp tends to be, especially it was 2 teams forever, Haganah Maccabee. All the cheers from years and years were Haganah Maccabee. All of a sudden, you can't do those. They had 4 teams that were completely different. It was like Judah, Dan, Ephraim, and Levi or something. And so they had to make all new cheers up as well. There wasn't even the traditional songs you could do. And I'm not sure. We'd have to ask Book or June. What was the rationale for going with 4? I think maybe they just thought it would be more deserving, or kids would get more of a chance.
It was just too big.
Compete more.
It was just too big having only 2, and it was more than that. But honestly, I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
He remembers.
I just remember. I remember because my team won because I was on Levy and Jeff Canner was the general. No, it couldn't have been Jeff Canner. Maybe I'm mixing up 2 years here.
I think you are. I don't think it was 79. We went to 14. I think we went to 4 generals.
Yes.
Now we did that earlier.
Right.
We did that earlier.
That's what it was.
Because it was too much for one person to be a general of a team. And to be honest, having been a general, I can tell you it was too much for one.
Okay.
It was.
You're right. It was another year. It must have been probably the following year.
Could have been
because
it was
Cantor was around that same era.
It was still right. It was still big.
Yeah.
But we had 2 on each team, and that broke it. Of course, a male and a female on each team. Obviously for that.
So it's probably 1980, and I remember.
I think so.
I remember the 4 generals, and now I'm thinking that Toby might have been one of them. But I remember.
I was never in camp with Toby.
I remember.
You know that?
She would come every other
I was
year.
never in camp with you, Toby.
I think she was only there on even number years or something. For some reason, she came and then she didn't. Bruce Kaz. Now I remember this detail. Bruce Kazanoff was the chief judge, and he lined all 4 generals up at the end of all the competition. The songs that last night with the alma maters and plaques was over, and he said, "And now the moment has come." Like they went out and crunched the numbers and he had all 4 generals, and he said, "I'm going to wave my hand. I'm going to stand behind them and wave my hand over each one, and whoever I put my hand down on their team is the winner for that year." And he's hovering, and everyone's on the edge of their seats, and he has to kind of reach up to get to Cantor's and Bruce is probably a foot shorter, but eventually it comes down on Cantor, and that was my team. And we loved it, of course. We were victorious. And all the other 3/4 of the camp swore we're never doing this again.
Had too many losing people.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say this because I want to put this on record, that I innovated color war. Okay? 2 of my ideas innovated color war, and I wanted to put this down. One of them was I invented College Bowl in the color war.
Yeah.
So I was the person who actually invented, and every year I was there, I did all the questions and all the answers, okay?
Right.
The other one, which is my favorite, was we were sitting around and people were asking, what can we do to get the really younger, less athletic kids involved and doing something valuable? So we came up with the wonderful idea of sandcastle building.
That's great.
And I remember the
Team.
first sandcastle building contest, individual sandcastle. We could, think of it. We should have had. It should have been like it should have been individual, team, double elimination, whatever. And the waterfront, of course, to do sandcastle building, you have to have waterfront staff as judges. You can't just have a regular person. You understand?
Right.
So we would assign 2 waterfront people. That was my favorite.
That's nice. I love that. I didn't know that, and it makes sense that those. I think I only went first month to camp, my first few years of camp, so I didn't even experience color war until my 4th year of camp, and by then, I was a mid-teenager. I might have been 13 or 14, and therefore, I wasn't in that sandcastle group.
No, you didn't.
But the college ball. I mean, I thought that was, because on TV, the college bowls in one form or another have been around since the 50s.
Right.
Like the earliest form of TV, they had these, college bowl type things.
Right.
I remember my earliest memories are Foxy. I don't know I think he was in it at the early years.
He was in it quite a bit.
I think he might have been a CIT when I first, and he dominated. If I recall, he would dominate. It was like. There was like 7. There were usually had 4 people on the side.
We did have.
And there were 7 people sitting there, and his hand would be up as the person and announcer said the first 2 words. He'd be like Einstein, blah, blah, blah. and it was a force of nature, and then I think eventually he'd be the questioner and he would read them off. But there were some great. I mean, I don't want to slight anyone, but there's specific people that I remember dominating or doing so well in that. That was great because, you want to highlight people that have different interests. That's why the plaques I always thought were great. That those arts and crafts people could work. They practically checked out of everything else, and they were in the arts and crafts for 3 days working on and revealing those plaques. There were
quite a few people who worked for years on the plaques.
And then those stayed up forever.
Should I mention somebody that I remember? I really remember Linda
Zonas, me too.
Working many, and doing such a wonderful job, really being one of the plaque masters. Mm-hmm. So she's the one that I really remember. And she just did a great job. And I think she really did check out. She pretty much spent all of the time.
The amazing thing about...
Because it took a lot of time, actually.
There were 2 things that always... When Color War's over, you're all back together, and it's the end of camp, and it's such a moment of joyousness to be together after you've been separated, and sadness that the camp's almost over. But the 2 things that last after each Color War, people forget who won which game and who won the obstacle course and the Apache relay and everything. But the 2 things that everyone remembers are the alma maters, and sometimes some of the other songs that they'll recite the rest of their lives, and the plaques, because they stayed up in the rec hall. They were basically the memories of those Color Wars. I think that's really cool that those plaques.
Absolutely.
And they were always great themes. They were general themes, but they were themes. I'll beat these swords into plowshares. Forever, kids. You have that vision in your mind, or.
Absolutely.
All of the other.
It was great.
Things.
Well, we did actually. We actually made it so we had a spelling bee. We had a college bowl. So we tried to mix it up.
Yeah.
So that it wasn't all athletic competition.
Right. Of course, in the Apache relay, you had everything.
Oh, we had toilet paper.
Yeah.
Well, that was not a serious race.
Eat crackers and whistle Yankee Doodle.
We did have eat crackers and whistle. Yeah, but to try to have things so that just not the athletic people, would dominate.
And of course, we're not an athletic camp. I mean.
We are not.
So I mean, we had.
As was shown by some of the competitions I coached through the years, that
we had good athletes.
We did,
for sure, but people didn't come to this camp to hone their skills at softball or.
But that's one of the reasons why it changed and shaped my life, which is a whole other story for a whole other time. But there was one other, I don't know if you wanted to, I wanted to tell about the birth of the Duke of Earl. Do you want to know about the birth of the Duke of Earl? Would anybody be interested?
Of course. I mean, that's the iconic one.
The iconic. How did that actually happen?
Is the
that
Duke
is.
of Earl.
Well, actually, it was accidental, as you might imagine. The first year I came to camp, which was 1968. Now, a lot of people, of course, weren't born there who were listening to this, right? We were going to do a counselor show for the first night of camp to introduce all of the staff to all of the kids, so we were going to perform. So, of course, we were sitting around, and we did, a bunch of us. Eric Packer was one of them. Some people
Is this
maybe
Joseph?
remember. Joseph.
Yeah.
Eric Packer was one of them. And we wanted to say, we're going to do some oldies. Of course, oldies song. This is okay, we'll do oldies. So we chose two oldies. One of them was At the Hop, by Danny and the Juniors. Some of you may say, who was that, whatever. And the other one was the Duke of Earl. And what happened was Gene Chandler, and who I saw actually perform it twice live in my life.
Before you had done it?
Not before, after, because otherwise he would have caused me to perform differently.
Right.
But anyway, I was the only one who knew the words to the two songs. Okay, out of all of the people. So he said, well, you're going to have to be lead singer. So I said, what do you mean lead singer? I said, all right. So we went. I didn't really care. I wanted to, but I made believe I didn't.
Had you sung like a high school?
Oh, yeah, a little bit, but nothing serious. It was all fun and game. So I went up there and I did it. Then for some reason, I kept getting asked to do it. All during the summer and all during forever and all during whatever. Every year, like multiple times, I have no idea why, but that became a signature.
Yeah. Well,
And all because of Eric Packer, who I haven't seen since 1969, I don't think.
That's great.
But all because of Eric Packer.
You never did At the Hop. It's not as dramatic.
I did do At the. I sang it that night. Never again. Oh, they didn't care about At the Hop.
Yeah, that would be a good encore song.
There's no drama in At the Hop.
That's true.
But anyway, so that was that. But that's really the story. So if anybody ever wants to know, and I can tell of course my children don't know about it. They don't know that I was a big star. But anyway, that's the story.
Yeah,
of that.
I can only think of one other person who had a signature song at camp.
Yep.
And you know who I'm thinking of?
You're thinking
Bradley Henkin.
You're thinking of Puff the Magic Dragon.
No, I guess there's three. There's three. Andy Greenstein.
Andy Greenstein with Puff.
Puff the Magic Dragon. Where
Jeremiah was a bullfrog. That was
That's
Bradley.
Brad Henkin. And the greatest thing, Bradley Henkin, special person at camp, and
Yes.
he would tell people he wrote this song, and
Yes.
at the socials. This is why it was so great. It reminded me of Dick Clark, American Bandstand. Everyone's dancing and the records are playing and old and current hits, and then it would be time for Joy to the World, and they would clear the dance floor, and they'd cue up Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog on the 45. The Foxy also would have a stack of 45s. There were a few people that over the years carried on the tradition. Alan Rosenblatt did. Anyway, they put it on. Someone always brought this to camp, I think knowingly. I don't know who was in charge of bringing Joy to the World 45 to camp, but I don't think Brad himself did. That would be a good.
It wasn't Brad.
But he would sing over the lyrics, over the record, and people would cheer him, and he'd be the star. And that's one of the special things about camp too, is kids who didn't get that kind of positive attention and spotlight got that love at camp.
It was it was important.
Iconic.
It was important, and we would talk about that a lot, and we would talk about that a lot and try to see how we could make sure that everybody. It's not easy, There's some people that just shine automatically, and we all know who the stars were. Some of them became stars later. Who knows? But there is some that just, we really wanted to reach out and have them. And, You know, one of the tasks that I don't know, some people don't know about is the unit heads had to go around after the first month and try to discuss with kids staying a second month. Because there were a lot of kids who signed up for 1 month, but their parents really wanted them gone for both months.
So wait, did the parents say, "Can you convince my kid to stay 2
No, that isn't what would happen. No, not exactly. What would happen was Lenny would give us a list of kids whose parents had said they could stay, but it was up to the kids to decide. And then we would have to go talk to the kids individually and see how they felt. Now, the thing about what was difficult to that was there was once, and I won't say who it was, where I actually convinced somebody who really didn't want to. And I felt that like haunted me for years after.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it was kids who really, oh
They
yeah,
just
I really
needed a
want.
little encouragement.
And not even I really want to stay. My parents said, I said,
once
well,
they
great,
got
that
there,
was
they
good.
had a great time.
So
They weren't sure before they came.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So we did that, and that was it. And the other, I have to tell you, there was one thing we used to do with Joseph we never did at Naomi, and that was super clean up, taking the mattresses outside.
No, you did do it at Naomi because in 1972,
Okay, I
Jeff
don't remember
Anton
that.
was the unit head.
Yes,
and
he sure was.
He had the white glove test.
Yes.
We would do super cleanup. It was Friday. It was always Friday morning after breakfast because the Shabbat was coming and they wanted it clean, and it was the end of the week, whatever. So, yes, we would bring the beds and mattresses.
I don't remember that happening.
I loved that because it was different. You had an extra long morning before activities. I think they must have canceled first period to do it, and you would bring out the mattresses in the frames, and therefore you could sweep the cabin completely clean.
Right.
And it was a big deal. And what kid wants to be cleaning when they could go playing and so forth? But there was something I liked about it. I'm not someone who likes to clean up all the time, but Wendy can attest to that. But there was something I liked about it, something different and special about it. But Jeff Anton had the white glove test. So he would tell people, you fail, you have to go back and do these 3 items. You know, Jeff is very detail oriented as an accountant.
Yes,
you know, you could see that was always in him from day one when he would look in the corners and behind in the bathroom, and you didn't get behind here, and you'd have to go back in. Everyone would blame the kid who was supposed to do it.
Well, I think that's great. Good for you, Jeff, my dear Jeff. What a guy, and what a.
Can you sing the Jeff Anton song? I don't remember all the A to Z.
See, I don't. I
think it's a group effort usually to go A to Z with Anton,
But he was. But those are the people. Those are the people who made the camp. I mean, he is one of the people who made the camp. But there was so many other people. But he was one of them.
Hey,
that's funny.
Yeah, Sam, we're gonna pause here.
Okay.
We have to take a break. This will be kind of episode 1 or part 1 of our little conversation here. All right, we'll be back later on.
When you're down and trouble and you need some love and care, and nothing is going right. Close your eyes and think of me. Soon I will be there, yeah, to brighten up even your darkest night. You tell